I'm Dr. Angie Stamm.
And I'm Kaela McGuire.
And this is Integrative Connections, a wellness community for pets and people.
Hi there. Welcome to Integrative Connections podcast. I'm Dr. Angie Stamm, and we are super excited today to be chatting with Rose Waldrop, who is a somatic practitioner. She has some techniques with working with animals somatically to help calm the nervous system that she's going to share with us today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us, Rose. I was so excited did you just have a post that went viral and everyone got to learn about your gifts at the same time or what? Because
yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it happened. I really wasn't expecting it to blow up like that. I thought, well, I'm just going to share what I'm learning. And then next thing I know, I was on a backpacking trip. I had no cell service and I got on my phone a week later and I was like, oh, okay, here we are.
No way. Did you set any intention to open up this path for yourself for your career, or was it literally by divine orchestration?
I feel like it was divine orchestration because honestly, at that point in time, I was kind of headed in the direction of practicing with humans and I had started working with my dogs and I was like, well, I'm just going to throw this out there. I think it's kind of cool. And then when I saw that response, I was like, oh my goodness, there's a need for this.
Wow. And now you have a course, which we'll get into and all that fun stuff. So let's just start from the beginning. How did you get into somatic work?
Yeah. Okay. So with somatics, it's been a journey. So about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with late stage Lyme disease and I was really sick. My quality of life was not great. I wasn't able to take care of my 3-year-old daughter. I was in bed. I was starting to lose feeling in my legs, and I had this crippling anxiety and sensitivity to lights and sounds. And I had kind of hit rock bottom with trying to figure out solutions. I went to a holistic doctor and I was on, some different supplement routines and whatnot. And I stumbled across somatics. And for some reason, something kind of clicked when I looked into just what somatics was. And I started implementing these techniques into my routine. And then all of a sudden, months went by and I started to actually be able to go out in public without crippling anxiety. I started to be able to feel in my legs again, all these things. And then fast forward to where I'm at now, I am actually in complete remission from Lyme disease. So, yeah.
Way, that's amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
you. So really just
yeah.
working on getting your nervous system calm so that your body can really help heal itself, right?
Yeah, no, that's essentially, you know what? Your nervous system, you can't out supplement a dysregulated nervous system, and nervous system work is the most foundational. So, yeah.
Love it.
Wow. I mean, it really goes to show the power of the mind, body, spirit connection, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. You don't realize until you're in a situation like that and you actually see these results that, okay, wow, there is a very powerful connection here. So, definitely.
Yeah. And so how long have you been working with animals directly?
Yeah. So I have been working with animals for about the last 8 months. And so it's been fairly fresh.
Yeah.
And since I've just started doing that, like I said, watching and seeing the results from it and understanding how canines mirror our human nervous systems, that has just been so fascinating.
Yeah. I'm sure you're learning more every day.
Yeah, I am. And I think one of the really core components of what I'm doing, and just even with my course and everything, is just reminding people that somatics isn't some new thing. It's actually very primally rooted that long before we ever had language and stuff, humans and animals, we relied on these built-in rhythms. And so that's why somatic work it honors, I like to tell people it honors that ancient blueprint. It's not a fad, it's actually how our nervous systems were designed and wired to heal. So yeah.
How would you define somatics for our listeners who don't really know what that is?
Great question. And like I said, I have brought some notes with me. So if you see me looking down here, so what I like to tell people, somatic therapy is a body first approach that helps the autonomic nervous system transition out of fight or flight into rest and digest mode. It's not just actually managing behavior, you're actually changing the body's state so new behaviors become possible.
Great, great. And are you working primarily through the vagal nerve, or are you utilizing a lot of vagal nerve work then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Great question. So a lot of the core elements that are included in somatic work is co-regulation And so these elements that I'm talking about, these are the ones that I'm using with canines. Co-regulation in the aspect of like your regulated state helps your dog regulate. And then a lot of orienting and interoception, which is this kind of fancy terminology for allowing the animal to like look and sniff and feel, and how that actually restores safety through the senses in the body.
Okay.
And then micro movements, so a lot of fascia work, and then also activating the vagus nerve. So yes, the vagus nerve is
That's a
big
big piece of
component.
it, but you're also working on the fascia and the sensory organs, etc.
Yes, yep. There's all these little components that come together. Like the nervous system itself is so expansive, and it's fascinating how just our bodies, like even humans and canines, like there's all these carryovers in somatic work. So,
Yeah, for sure. We've done a couple episodes recently speaking on the mirroring between people and their pets. And so do you find that like working with a person that work will in and of itself help the pet and vice versa, or do you work with them individually? Talk a little bit about that.
yeah, that's a great question. So I plan on actually dropping a human somatics course as well this fall, because what I've realized is a lot of this work with your dogs involves the owner to be regulated first,
Right.
because the
Hmm.
dogs can pick up on your nervous system before you even do, which is kind of wild. I mean, they are great. They're great at picking up on those things. They can tell if you're anxious before you are. And so if you go into trying to practice somatics on your dog and you're anxious, the fact is it might not be as successful versus if you come into the room regulated after you've done some grounding or some deep breathing. And so, yes, there is a direct correlation there. And I think that's a vital component of this, because I'm sure, as you like we've kind of mentioned before, is like our society is so burnt out. We're running at a pace that we can't maintain. So a lot of us as humans are already dysregulated.
Right.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Do you believe in soul contracts between pets and people?
No, I think there's some stuff there for sure. The connection, I don't know, I'd be interested to hear what you think. I feel like there is just it's wild how dogs never speak a single word, but there's just such a strong, like you said, there's such a strong connection there between humans and pets that you just can't even begin to explain.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, for
I
sure.
just love asking that question and hearing if people have even considered that, because we often talk about soulmates between people,
Yeah.
but with our pets, like, I mean, considering the amount of healing and growth and love and everything that we get to feel and experience when we have a pet that we perhaps may otherwise not have had the experience of. So is it possible that they came into our life to activate that in us, or help heal something or mirror something that, we
Yeah.
know is there?
My
That's
experience working with different clients and pets over the years is that I think that that is possible and that scenario does exist. It's not always, but it's not always there. So you'll have
I
clients say like, this is my soul dog, right? Or
I
this is
agree.
this was my
yeah.
like I had this special connection. You can't put a name or an explanation around it, but this is something that you feel like I have this unique connection with this animal, whether it's, a dog or a horse or a cat or whatever. But I don't think that it's always the case.
Agreed. Like I've had pets that I don't feel that with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's super interesting that you bring that up and you talk about that, because I agree too. Like we've had a dog in the past, and like it, like you said, there's a certain connection. And I don't know if you guys have multiple pets or if you just have one, but like you said, I feel like there is often a distinguishable difference between that.
Yeah, for sure. Do
Yeah.
you find that you're seeing overlap do you ever see overlap between different disease conditions with pets and their humans that you're working with? Like
Yeah.
similar illnesses or ailments that they share? Is that a theme that
Yeah.
you've seen?
Yeah, so actually, just a personal experience here. So, starting out, when we had our golden retriever, we have two dogs. We have a pit bull mix and then a golden retriever. And the golden retriever, we've had her since she was a puppy, and right around that time is when I started to get super sick. And so, right in that very foundational forming of her nervous system as a puppy, she began to become a very anxious dog. Like I could tell that she was just, very hypervigilant, on edge. And I never really thought much about it because I was like, well, this is kind of maybe part of her breed. I know a lot of times people just say that it's like part of their breed. But I realized I was very sick in that time period. I was very anxious. And I would notice at times when I was super on edge that she, like her behavior would increase in that manner. And then like the light bulb clicked when I started doing somatics. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, she's totally mirroring me. Like this whole time, this is why she's anxious. Like that anxiety that, crossed over. And I'm sure I've heard of, or I actually just had a lady who messaged me this past week that she has a bunch of autoimmune disorders. And she sent a whole long list of what she was walking through. But she said her dog was also terribly sick. And so
Yeah.
I do believe that there are crossovers. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's something that I see just anecdotally too. Obviously not all the time, but more than you would think, where a client comes in with an animal with, for example, a gallbladder issue, and they're like, oh, well, it's weird because I have gallbladder issues too, or I've got neck pain and they've got neck pain, or something like that. So I think
Yeah.
it's all connected in the energy field, and whether
Hmm.
they're mirroring us or we're mirroring them, or it's just a shared vibration, I don't really know. But I think that being able to co-regulate each other's nervous systems, help your pet, and then learn how to help yourself regulate the nervous system will, you know, reduce the disease expressions, right? Because I mean, the body will either express diseases or not express diseases, whether depending on how healthy
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah.
Just like your Lymes, right? You had to get your
Yeah.
nervous system regulated, and then your Lymes was regulated.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I love how you were talking about that, how you sometimes like see those things in your office, just like how some people might have carryover issues. And I don't know, is that a pretty common thing where you have pet owners come in and you all like they share that like, hey, I have this going on, and then their dog has something similar? Like, is that a pretty common thing?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, more than you would think. Obviously,
Hmm.
it's not all the time, but
Yeah.
something that I notice enough to really kind of pay attention when it happens. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Um, so yeah, I think that I love the idea of working with the nervous system to, as a piece of healing, as a healer, right? We need to
Hmm.
look at that as well. It's not just about medications and diets and supplements. It's how do we regulate the nervous system so the body can heal itself. Um,
Yeah.
and so I like the work. I love the work that you're doing, and I think that there's probably um, tools for veterinarians that you could help us with as well. Even just from an exam room interaction standpoint, how can we
Hmm.
go into a physical exam and or whatever procedure we're doing, an ear
Yeah.
cleaning or
Hmm.
a nail trim, where we have to interact with these stressed out animals and stressed out clients,
Yeah.
and oftentimes the clients are stressed about the animal being stressed, and then it's this feedback loop. um,
Yeah.
so how could the veterinarian go in and be like, okay, let me redo this whole energy situation with somatics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We need to calm the owner down, we need to calm the pet down, both, right,
Yeah.
in order for it to work.
No, I think that is a very great point. And that was something that I had kind of had listed on here, kind of like clinical benefits that you could see in the vet clinic from doing this. But to talk about how to do that, I think that is where it starts, because the vets need to be equipped, like the vet techs, and like the owners is having that education. And I think for like, as being in the veterinarian field here, one of the biggest things I would say for just the vets is going to be learning just the power in regulating themselves, and
Mm,
just, stepping into the room with a calm presence is going to drastically also help the owner too, because I'm sure they pick up on that energetically as well. And the dog. And so I think that's a big piece, is like having vets equipped too with like somatic techniques and grounding before they go into the room, and just understanding the power of that. And I didn't know, like, before you step into a room, like, I'm curious, this on a day-to-day basis. Like, I'm sure there's times probably like where you step in like a little more rattled or maybe calmer.
mhm.
Like, I didn't know what your experience is with that. Um,
Yeah, I am always aware of that, the energy that I take walking into a room. And it is challenging, and I'm sure a lot of other vets would agree with me. When you're going through your day, it's all in a general practice setting, it can be quite hectic. You've got emergencies going on in the background and stressed out employees or people call in,
yeah,
you're short
yeah,
staffed, and you're trying to, you're running late to your next appointment, and how do you walk in and be
Yeah.
present and calm? Because if you're not, you're kind of the ringleader, right, of this
Yeah.
situation. So if you're not calm, then it doesn't trickle down. It's not going to trickle down.
No.
And so you're right, like that is kind of the most important. But then how do we, once we
Yeah.
learn how to calm our energy, then how do we
Next step.
relate that to the pet and the owner as well?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's the first step, is your presence and coming in calm. And the next step that I would tell people is looking at body language, because that's what a lot of canine somatics is really looking at the dog as a whole and looking at their body language, like whether that's through like their eyes, their ears, their tail, like their stance, like all these little micro cues give off just like an overall like, hey, I'm stressed out, I'm in fight or flight mode, or hey, I'm calm, I'm in rest or digest. And knowing when you step in the room and being able to look at the dog and be like, this dog's activated right now. I know I should not approach it. I should not try to touch it. I need to just wait and like maybe do some breathing myself and see if the dog can like mirror that breathing, versus like, I'm sure you see like where people try to go approach a dog and it's activated and they accidentally get bit, or there's aggression or there's something. And it's like the dog is already giving off body language. And I think one of the biggest pieces missing is that we just, a lot of us, myself included, like as I'm learning this, like we don't often know how to read dog body language as well
Yeah.
as, you know.
Yeah. So tell us your top 3 tips on reading dog body language.
Yeah. So my course goes like super in depth in all the different body parts. But I'd say the first one with body language, a big one is I look at just the like, once again, like you can tell if a dog's rigid or not by just like looking at how they're standing. Like if they're frozen and they're not blinking, like that's the first one I tell people. Like if your dog is staring, if it's a hard stare, if they almost have like whale eyes, I sometimes tell people, I'm like, that's a sign, hey, back off. They're definitely in fight or flight. They're anxious. So like just looking, and you can oftentimes even just feel it. Like, when you see a dog that's rigid and you're like, something's off here. Like you can just tell by their posture and their stance, it's frozen. Nothing's moving. That is a big one. I tell people, look at the posture, look at the eyes. And then the other one too. So this one, I like to tell people like breathing. You actually watch their rib cage, like actually count the inhales and the exhales. Like you can tell if they're calmly breathing, like you're gonna see their like the ribs expand and retract at a normal rate. But if they're activated, it's gonna be a lot faster. And I know that probably sounds like a very basic thing, but it's a really strong cue for whether or not their nervous system is in fight or flight. And so that is another one that I like to tell people. And probably one of the biggest things is like if you walk towards the dog and the dog turns from you, like if they like do not like actually turn in towards you, like that is a really big cue right there for consent. Like if the dog like turns its head or like maybe takes a step back, that like right there, I know a lot of people often don't see that, but that is a big body language cue saying, hey, I'm not ready for this. I need some space. And so there's all these little cues. Like there's like a whole list I give in the course, but there's just all these things that add up and make such a big difference. Like context is everything. Like looking at the big picture. I don't know if this was helpful, if that was, understandable.
No, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
And I'm curious, and I know you have a whole course about this that we will link and have people sign up for, but can you give an example for like if a dog is stress panting and it's your dog, so you can touch it, like where would you hold it or what would you do to calm their nervous system in that type of like situation?
Yeah, definitely. Great question. And I have a dog that will sometimes stress pant, especially like during thunderstorms. I mean, you have all these different situations where dogs like that can be induced. So for stress panting, one of the first things I do is I go up and I like put one hand on each side of their ribs and I literally just like hold. Like I just hold the dog there. I don't like move my hands or anything. I just super gentle pressure. And I call it like rib cage compression. And for dogs, it gives them like that sense of like being held. It gives that sense of security. It signals
A weighted
to the
blanket.
yes, like a weighted. You know what? You could probably put a weighted blanket on them too. That's honestly, I've seen people do that as well. It simulates that same pressure, right?
Yeah.
Right. Or do you know,
Well,
have you seen the Thunder shirts?
Yeah, the
Yes.
compression
Yes.
vests. Yeah.
Yes, the thunder shirts, exactly. No, that pressure, I mean, honestly, it's all about sending a signal to the nervous system and showing the body that it's safe. At the core somatics, like the message, like we always tell people, somatics is showing the body it's safe. So that's what we're doing with our hands and these techniques and our, and through co-regulating is showing the body you are safe. You can, you can experience safety. So by putting your hands on the side of a dog like that on its rib cage, you're just telling it, hey, you can let go. And then in that moment, what you would look for is you can look for different cues of like, hey, the dog is relaxing, maybe it sighs, or you see like the blinking slows. There's these different things you can look for. So, yeah.
And when they yawn, that's a release, right? Typically a release of energy.
Yes. So, yawning is actually, I've learned, very controversial in the dog world. As
Some
I
people
put
think
up,
it's
It can mean both. It can mean
yes.
multiple things, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You are spot on. It all comes back to context. Like, for
yeah,
example, like you said, in the scenario where, say, you were putting your hands on the side of a dog's rib cage and it was stressed out and you see a yawn, that's great.
that's
That means it is most likely releasing stress. But in other cases, like, say you have like a 3-year-old running towards a dog and the dog is yawning, you're like, okay, and you can see other body cues, like its tail's up, it's stiff. You want to look at the other, like the other cues that are present. And so that's why you always look at the big picture overall. So yes, in other cases, yawning can actually mean, no,
like
I'm stressed out.
frustration.
Hmm.
I see my dog yawn like when he's frustrated that I'm not like getting what he wants or whatever. Like sometimes he'll just yawn and I'm like, oh, you're frustrated.
You're, that's, yeah, actually, you should try it sometime. If you yawn next to your dog, chances are they will actually yawn in response to you because they're mirroring you. So,
Oh my gosh. And yawns are going to change
Interesting.
quickly. So
So,
yeah.
and then back to the rib cage pressure, one technique
Mhm.
that we use in the clinic for small dogs and cats to calm them down is a swaddling technique with a towel, similar to
Really?
swaddling a baby. So I actually have a little technique where we can make a little towel burrito, and
Wow.
then we have both of our hands free to check their ears or check their
Hmm.
teeth. And yes, it is a restraint technique that's commonly done, but it is actually probably working on the nervous
Yeah.
system because of that pressure, right?
Hmm. Oh, that's
absolutely.
super fast. I love to hear that there's things out there like that you're utilizing in the clinic
Yeah.
because
We
definitely
could do a little video and show it to you if you want, of the
love
little
that.
swaddle technique. But so like as
Yeah.
a veterinarian, when say I walk into a room and the dog or cat is obviously stressed, maybe it may be lunging at me or
Hmm.
barking at me or
Hmm.
hiding under its owner. What I usually do in that moment is I'll ignore them. I'll stop making eye contact. I'll go over to my computer
Hmm.
and I'll tell the owner, hey, I'm just going to ignore him for a minute. We're going to talk.
Yep.
We start
Yep.
talking about the history.
Mhm.
And then I might just start throwing them some treats, just not
Yep.
even looking at them, just toss some treats over.
Mhm.
And then they'll kind of like, eat the, and if they'll eat the treats, then I know they're not overly stressed. Like that
Yeah.
gives me a read, right, on how stressed they
Yep.
are.
Yep.
And
If
if
they're
they'll eat the
shut down or not.
treats and then they'll kind of come over, start to come over to me, then I can kind of start to work with them. But
Hmm.
what would you recommend in a scenario where that happens and they're too stressed to even come and eat my treats? They're not going to
Hmm.
work with me. They're
Yep.
really, so then what do I do?
Yeah, great question. And I love that you are utilizing treats because there's some interesting facets that I've come upon just within canine somatic work recently. And one of them, just like with humans, like you know how like when we're stressed out, there's different ways we can activate the vagus nerve through like our nose, through our breathing, like swallowing actually activates the vagus nerve. So, but the fact that you're getting a dog to eat treats, that's a great sign because that means that is actually inherently going to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. But say you have a dog though that isn't actually going to touch the treats. One thing you could do, well, there's a couple things, but getting them to be able to sniff something. So I know this sounds weird, but sniffing in a dog actually activates the vagus nerve. So something that I'm working on, hopefully coming out with maybe later this year, some type of tool where like um you can like almost infuse essential oils, and I know lavender is a really calming oil for dogs, but like a tool where they can actually come up and sniff this object, and sniffing activates that, rest and digest mode. So in that scenario, even having, like you said, a treat trail, if the dog doesn't even eat the treats but is willing to go sniff the treats, that's a really good sign. I mean, even if they don't eat them, that's okay, but just that sniffing, that act of sniffing is going to activate that vagus nerve. And in the case, say the dog doesn't even want to sniff, what you're doing first off right away by ignoring them, that's perfect. Like giving them space, not making eye contact, because that can feel like pressure to dogs. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing would be time and you co-regulating with them, like maybe sit across the room and just start deep breathing. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much time you have in a room. Like I know there's probably like a timeline you're on that's probably really tricky when you have, clients in there, but just literally getting the room as calm as possible, maybe even turning on like calming music. I've seen with
Or
my
tell the clients to
dogs.
stop talking.
Yeah, tell you know what? Maybe you need to have a new protocol when your clients come. No, seriously. I mean, honestly, I wish there was a protocol for the owners when they come in the room because I think they bring in a lot of that stress.
They so do. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's like if the mom brings the dog in, the dog will be super badly behaved. But if the dad brings the dog in, it's fine. That happens
Hmm.
too.
Yes. No,
Or vice versa. I'm not picking on one gender or the other, but yeah.
yeah.
So okay. So one thought then that you just thought made me think of is, do you ever work with the flower essences like Bach flowers?
No,
These are
enlighten me.
these are homeopathic blends from flowers. So you're taking flower essences and you're diluting them. You're diluting them
Mm,
so far down that the only thing left is the vibrational frequency of that plant or mineral and so that's what
yeah.
homeopathy is in a nutshell. But there
Yep.
are
Hmm.
homeopathic flower essences, and one example is the Bach flower rescue
Okay.
remedy. It's called Rescue Remedy.
Oh my
And this
God.
Yeah.
is a stress remedy. I used to give it to my kids. They make little gummies. And so my kids are having meltdowns. I'd say, here, eat your gummy.
Here. Take it.
And there's a local company for us out of Nevada City that has a 5-flower blend as well. It's called FES flowers. But yeah, so I have that in a little spray bottle in the exam rooms. And sometimes I'll like put it on my hand or put it on
Mm,
the owner's hand and have them rub it on
yeah.
the animal's head. But you kind of inspired me to maybe, what if we got a toy, like a little stuffed toy or a ball, put the
Yeah.
flower essences on that and then just kind of throw it in their space and let them sniff it. And then they're
Yeah.
getting the benefit of just general sniffing, but they're also getting the flower essences, which are reported to have a very calming influence. I
Hmm.
think it works. It works sometimes better than others, but it's so safe and natural that why not do things like that to kind of help as well.
I think that's an incredible idea. Honestly, I would love to hear if you try something like that, how that works out, like spraying it on a toy, or
Yeah,
even if you had some type of absorbent pad or something you could put on the floor or get near the dog just to get them to, yeah, to sniff that. I think that's incredible.
yeah.
I've put
One,
it's not like immediate, but I've put it in my dog's water, and over
Mm,
time, I really see a difference.
yeah,
In fact, I
okay.
should
yeah.
get
So that
Yeah.
could be
Where do you
something
buy
that
that?
Bach flower essences, Rescue Remedy. I'm sure you can find it on Amazon even.
Okay.
Kayla will send you a link.
Bach flower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a
Yeah.
link.
Okay.
Um,
Sweet.
so one technique that I've played with a little bit and other technicians have taught me for stimulating the vagal nerve
Hmm.
in pets is to actually press on the eyeballs. Have you heard of this?
No.
You take your fingers and you press on the eyeballs and you kind of firm for, it's kind of like acupressure.
Mhm.
You kind of pressing firmly for a while. Maybe it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and that can also activate the vagal nerve and help to calm them. Pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I believe it because I know like in human work with when I've worked with other people, the vagus nerve, the eye, like the ocular nerve is connected to the vagus nerve. So being able
Yeah.
to, stimulate that. Okay.
Pretty cool.
That I'll have to give that a shot.
And then in horses, sometimes we use something called an ear twitch, which seems kind of aggressive, but you
Hmm.
gently grab the base of the ear, and
Yep.
then you kind of pull out. You kind of like pull out. And then
Yeah.
I've seen people do this with the tragus, right? Or you work on the different
Yep.
ear points to stimulate the
Yep.
calming. So in horses, you can do it if they're really, needle phobic or something. You do
Hmm.
a gentle ear twitch, and it's not aggressive, but you're just gently pulling on the base of the ear, and it really helps to calm them down too.
That's super cool. That's really fascinating. Like you said, the eyes, the ears. I mean, it's crazy how, like, when you think about it, the human body has all these access points to the vagus nerve, and, dogs, horses, like you said, like we all have central nervous systems and how that stuff carries over, and how, like you said, horses' ears, you can activate the vagus nerve through that. Dogs' ears, like there's so many different points in a dog's ear as well that, like, you can activate that nerve.
So cool. So what are your other more common techniques other than the rib squeezing?
Yeah, yeah. So what I tell people, so I have in my course, like I walk through different, like about 10 different techniques, but I always tell people it also depends on your dog. Every dog has a different, I like to say like a calm switch. Some dogs might be more apt to rib cage compression. Some dogs, it might be like ear circles. I always tell people, like you can take this list of techniques, go try it on your dog, but some dogs just like you can activate that parasympathetic system and different exercises versus your other dog. So, for example, one of my favorite ones, I do ear circles and I'll do ear slides. I like tell people I take like your thumb and your index finger and just start at the base of the ear and go down to the tip, just real slowly, just light pressure. And as you do that, watch to see if your dog swallows, if they lick their lips. Um, so those are kind of some cues with that one. So ear slides. One of the other ones that I do a lot of times is just from like the base of the neck, just down to the tail, just a flat palm, and just like gliding over the fascia and just real, just like gently, like micro, like at the speed of like a snail, just go over their skin. And I tell people when they do that, like if they feel like a twitch at all, or if they feel like the skin like moving up on them, oftentimes that might be an area where the fascia is holding something. There could be a holding pattern there. And so I'll tell people to just gently just hold your hand over that. And oftentimes the dog, like you'll see like a little like twitch, or they might like yawn, or they might like stretch out. A lot of times when I practice on my pit bull mix, when I find an area where he's holding something, he'll instantly just like stretch out, which is a great sign. Like it means like the body is letting go of that tension held there. So that's another one that I like to tell people.
Great.
Really cool. Going back to the dogs that aren't ready to be approached, are there any techniques that you have that you don't touch them, that you can energetically kind of soften them so that they're a little bit more approachable? I know that's kind of tapping into like the more Reiki side of things, but I'm
Yes.
curious if you have
So, I
anything.
mean, no, I hope to, and I think this is really applicable because I'm sure my goal is to get into shelters and to try to work with a lot of shelter dogs. And I know there's going to be a lot of instances where there's going to be dogs that are not going to be warm and friendly, that do not want to be approached.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a great question. And I think kind of similar to what I was telling Angie, is that a lot of it comes back to, first of all, like your presence and your breathing. And like if you're coming in there and there's a dog that doesn't want to be approached, first of all, don't make eye contact, just like what Angie was doing, like, and like sit off to the side of the room. Like, don't even give them attention. Just focus on yourself and just getting yourself into a calm state. And eventually over time, like I'm telling you, like my golden retriever, I like to tell people she's a crackhead. I've worked, like she does not like to be approached. I mean, I guarantee you she's much better than probably a lot of those dogs out there that like won't even let you get near them. But I've practiced on her where I will literally sit there for 20 minutes. She will not come near me, and I'll deep breathe. And at like minute 20, she finally comes over towards me and even just like turns herself in towards me a little. And like I tell people, like, I think a lot of people are looking for these big moments when they're working with dogs, but oftentimes, say you have a dog that doesn't want to be approached, if they even like turn towards you, if they even like stick a paw out, like these tiny little cues, like that's actually improvement. Like that's the nervous system letting go just enough to be like, okay. Um, yeah.
That's interesting that you say that because my horse trainer is big into groundwork and
Mhm.
energetic connection with the horses, and she always harps on us that you don't just like go in there, go into their stall, go into their space essentially, and grab the halter and throw it on. Like
Yeah.
you stand there and you wait for them to come to you, and it might take
Yeah.
5 minutes or it might take 20 minutes. She's like, and it's okay if you're late to your lesson because I want you to like let the horse come to you and give you that permission, because then they are ready to partner with you and they will come in a more calm, connected state. It's pretty interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I
thinking about it, I mean, I don't like somebody abrasively approaching
No,
me.
that's you are literally, I was literally just gonna say that. I'm like, in human somatic work, if I barged into the room and I was like, we are gonna start right now. I mean, I would not be happy with that either. I wouldn't want to do it.
Right. Right. I'm more of an observer. I like to feel out a room before I get comfortable. I want to know what I'm working with here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here's the thing though, a lot of canine somatics, like you look at the components and a lot of it works with humans as well. Like a lot of the same principles, like with a dog. Like if you have someone who's walked through immense trauma, like human wise, and I step in the room, a lot of times people don't even let you come near them and you got to give them space. Like the nervous system does not heal with pressure. The nervous system heals on it, like on its own timeline. And I think that's really key to note too, like
And
pressure
that's
and yeah.
Yeah, that's ultimately what we are trying to kind of focus on with integrative connections is that hybrid between human health and pet health, that intersection,
Yeah.
because we do share so much with pets and healing techniques are universal if you are
Mhm.
open to various modalities.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Very cool. Go ahead, Angie.
so what's your ultimate goal in terms of your journey with somatics, Rose? I'm curious, like, where
Yeah.
would you like to be in
Yeah.
your future career?
So I would like to see myself in several years just continuing to pioneer and put this at the forefront of canine wellness. Like I want somatics for canines to become a standard technique that people practice, that vets have access to, that even colleges have courses on, in that realm, that like even I'm working with some different people that work with like canines and like special units. I want somatics to be widely available and seen as, hey, this is the most foundational modality for healing here. And I really believe we have a cultural shift happening with people wanting to be more holistic. And I believe that with pets and canines, like it's transitioning as well. And so my goal is to just put that at the forefront, educate people, and just make it something that is widely accepted and used.
And it's free.
And it's free. And that's the thing. That's literally how
It's
our
free.
bodies were designed to do this. It's like we're just bringing people back to it. Because I think
Yeah.
That's right.
our whole society got wired for stress and we were never meant to be wired for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's a whole m- system in the veterinary space called fear-free handling, and there's like certifications, and I'm not super trained in it, but basically they won't put an animal in a stress. They won't treat an animal in a stress state. They'll either, you know, basically if an animal's super stressed, they're not gonna, they don't believe in manhandling or forcing them to do something. They'll bring them back with oral sedation or use injectable sedation or other techniques. But I feel like there's probably tools that you could give veterinarians that would kind of bridge that gap between oral and injectable sedation and
yeah.
actually out just maybe working with the pet for a few moments or giving the owners tools to use at home and before they come into the clinic to get them into a more calm state to be able to accept the care easier too.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I see that. I even wrote down, like in the vet clinic, like you said there, I'm sure there's a lot of benefits you could expect if you practice like somatics on dogs and you gave owners like those tools. Like I'm sure, like one of them I even had, like dogs coming out of anesthesia, you could have smoother recoveries with that, like when combined with like appropriate protocols. And I feel like, even looking at like the whole longevity and aging, like with humans, like we see the effect on cellular repair that stress has. And so like with dogs, I know it's got to be so similar. Like stress, damages the cells and it creates a breeding ground for diseases, for allergies, all the like inflammation, like you name it. And so if we can attack stress and if we can like once again like get and downshift the nervous systems of canines, I feel like we're going to see all those other things like follow suit.
For sure. There's definitely, Western medicine has great tools for
Mhm.
diagnostics and
Yeah.
emergency drugs and pain
Yep.
management, but it doesn't address the spiritual and emotional component, right? And to healing. And so that's something that I think is kind of in the forefront of medicine
Yeah.
is learn having practitioners understand the importance of addressing the nervous system component of disease too.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
so foundational. And like you said, I mean, I definitely believe Western medicine has its place as well.
Yeah.
I just think that there's a lot of people aren't getting to the root of things. And at the root of it, the nervous system, I mean, if you can heal the nervous system, you can see so many other things change. And that's where, like, once again, like my life is like a walking story of that. And I believe that it's the same for dogs as well. If we can get their nervous systems regulated, then we can see changed behavior. We can see illnesses go away. We can see a lot of things just change.
Yeah. How quickly do you find that the techniques can work? I mean, it's something that can be really like give immediate benefit, right? It's not like something you have to work on for weeks and months necessarily.
Yeah. So definitely, I tell people, once again, it comes back to the dog. What's the dog been through? Its history of trauma. If you have a dog that's never experienced a lot of stress in its lifetime and you go up and you do somatics on it, it's going to respond probably pretty quickly. And it might not require months of actually having to do these repetitive exercises. But if you have a dog, like from the shelter, for example, that's been, tossed from home to home, has a history of aggression and whatnot, it's probably going to take, like, you might see some immediate like cues when you do the somatic work. Like, you might be able to tell if the dog's able to downshift, but it probably won't stick. And so that's where you have to do it over and over, because you're strengthening like those neural pathways in the brain. And that's what happens like over time, is like, once again, like for people that have anxiety, it's like rewiring the brain, and it takes time and repetition of proving and showing the body it's safe. So I feel like it varies from dog to dog, but you can definitely see some immediate results. But like long-term behavior, I'd say anywhere from like several months to a year, depending on the extreme, like, the behavior you're wanting to see changed.
Okay.
Yeah. And that time's going to pass anyway. So you might as well heal your dog.
Yeah, I know. You might as well start now.
Exactly.
Well, that's the case for any sort of training method, really. It's like, any kind of behavioral modification technique, whether it's somatics or traditional training, it's going to take, it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the problem is, once again, I'm sure you'd agree, like our society just does not want to slow down. A lot of people want quick fixes, and somatics isn't a quick fix. Like, it isn't, but it is the best fix, though. I will say that. Like, it's something, like, if you actually put in the work and you actually slow down, you will see so many changes happen. But I think we got to get people to realize we have to get them to actually regulate first in order for that to follow suit in that aspect.
Well, you're rewiring neural pathways. And then when you have society reinforcing the old nervous system,
Yes.
then that's where the battle is. So that's why that consistency is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like you wake up in the morning and everything goes against what your nervous system needs to heal in this society. So that's why it's, like you said, it's not even the amount of discipline you have, but just like making it a priority and telling yourself like, hey, like, this is like, my body deserves this. Like, having some compassion there too. Because I think a lot of us also don't believe that we deserve to actually, like, heal from these things. And yeah.
Well, we don't make ourselves a priority, but as soon as we know our pets have an opportunity to heal, we'll make them a priority.
No, exactly. And that's what's kind of sneaky about, Canine Somatics, is people don't realize when they, start to learn this stuff, is they're actually regulating themselves, whether or not they realize it. So
Yeah,
for sure. The win-win.
It's a win-win, exactly.
so you are indirectly helping the humans too, which is super cool.
Yes. I mean, when you think about it that way, that's something, like I said, you are actually helping both parties, whether or not, yeah.
Yeah. That's
And if
awesome.
humans knew that by way of having self-care, making, their own personal health journey a priority, that in and of itself is going to help heal their pets.
Exactly. No, it is, honestly, I think it's just crazy how that all works. And like, when people realize it, like, if that light bulb goes off, I think, once again, it's not just going to be like a fad or a trend. Like, I really think that this is the future of canine wellness.
I agree.
So
So
awesome.
exciting. Congratulations. I'm so excited that, by way of divine orchestration or whatever you want to call it, I want to look at your astrology chart personally, but
I don't even know what sign I am.
well, something is in your favor and it is so cool to see. So where can people learn more about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they get your course? All the fun things.
Yeah. So definitely Instagram right now is my biggest platform, because that's where that one reel, that blew up. And so then we got quite a following, which I'm super grateful for. So that's right now where I share a majority of my resources, but I also do have a TikTok. It's the same handle, Integrated Animal Somatics. And then we do have an actual website in the works right now. I have someone working to get that out as sooner rather than later. And then my course is linked on my Facebook and my Instagram. That's available right now for $97. It is a self-paced course. It has some lecture videos, some downloadable tracker tools, and just some hands-on techniques that you can actually go and start on your dog tomorrow if you wanted. And so, yeah, that's kind of
Awesome.
what we have going right now. And
then
the price is going to increase, so get it now. Well,
yes, not a significant increase, but a little bit of an increase. So,
well, my request for you is someday maybe you can create a short course for vets working on stressed animals in the exam room in the clinic setting. Just quick and easy tips that maybe the folks who are already into fear-free and, you know, or work with a lot of shelter animals and high stress animals, they just want to learn how to better, you know, make a better experience for the animals and the owners. It stresses the owners out too when the animals are, I mean, it's just as stressful for the owners when the animals are stressed, if not more.
Oh, 100%. And I agree. And I think that's actually something that will be in the future because I'm looking for these different outlets of where can I get the information? Because my heart behind it, once again, is just to genuinely help. Like, I just want to see there be a change in just dog wellness and human wellness overall. So if I can get that into the hands of vets, then I will definitely, like I said, whether that's next year or the year after that, I would love to come up with a course to be able to get that in your hands. So.
Great. Well, we'll look for that. We'll help promote it for you.
Yeah, I would love to have that as a connection point for sure.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you going to stick with dogs, Rose, or are you going to branch out to other animals?
So there's a fantastic question. As I started this, I was like, man, we should just hit all the animals here. And then as I've got into this, part of me is like, wow, this is a lot deeper than I realized in the canine field. Like there's a lot that goes into each different animal. I could see myself branching out into whether that's cats and horses at some point in the future. But I think for right now, I see just such a big need. I mean, I know there's needs in those areas too, but like I feel like I have connections right now and I have the ability to expand here. So I think I'm going to camp out here for a while and just,
stick with the dogs.
And then you can just rinse and repeat, you know, once the time comes. And
exactly. A lot of it carries over. I know there's different, you know, it comes back to body language and looking at those different cues and stuff and animal behavior. But yeah, definitely.
Love it. Yeah. So exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Really.
Well, no, I'm so honored you wanted me on your podcast. That means so much.
Oh my gosh. Well, I hope I hope you have many more opportunities to share your voice and spread your message. And yeah. Very exciting.
Awesome.